Hello everyone, Weather Jamaica here. Welcome to this updated video on the weather across Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean. It is Sunday evening, April 28, 2024. Now before we jump into it, please ensure that you guys like the video, share it, subscribe and tap notification bell so that you'll be notified every time I post a brand new video. Feel free to leave a comment down in the comment section letting me know what that has been like in your year recently. Also feel free to ask any weather related question that you might have about the future though in your specific area. Alright, so let us take a look at the surface map of the Atlantic for this evening. We can still see that the entire Atlantic basin is being dominated by that ridge of high pressure that's situated across the northern portion of North Atlantic. That's responsible for sending all of those easterly trade winds across the main development region into the Caribbean. We can also see that the northern portion of the Caribbean is being plagued by the tail end of a cold front that has induced a trough in the portion of Hispaniola, sections of the Greater Antilles, maybe even sections of Jamaica and eastern Cuba. And we're definitely going to be feeling the effects of this trough tomorrow into mid-week. We can also see that we have another trough right here across portions of the northeastern Caribbean. And if we take a look at the visible satellite images of the Atlantic before the sun went down, we can see everything that we just mentioned. We can see the clouds associated with that cold front that has induced the trough, bringing some amount of overcast skies and showers to sections of Hispaniola. We can see that low level flow from the east with all of those patches of clouds across the eastern to the central Caribbean, bringing some amount of overcast skies and isolated showers. And we can also see the upper level flow aloft, pushing all of those upper level winds, or pushing all of those upper level clouds in that layer of the atmosphere off to the north and east. We'll be talking more about the rest of the Caribbean weather later on. Let us focus our attention on the prediction that was made in yesterday's video about the weather across Jamaica for today, Sunday, April 28, 2024. It was stated that we would have received some amount of morning rainfall across sections of some northern parishes in Jamaica, then affecting sections of some southern parishes during Sunday afternoon. And just for your information, northern parishes, we're talking about Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, St. Anne, St. Mary, Portland. Southern parishes, we're talking about St. Thomas, Kingston, St. Andrew, St. Catherine, Clarendon, Manchester, St. Elizabeth, and Westmoreland. And what ended up happening? As early as 6:01 a.m., the visible satellite image was posted on not only our Twitter page at Weather Jamaica, but our Instagram page at weather.jamaica, our TikTok page at Weather Jamaica, and on our Facebook page at Weather Jamaica 806. So if you have one of those social media platforms, please ensure that you follow us there, as we make daily posts that we don't make here on our YouTube platform that you can't afford to miss. So we see the visible satellite image was posted at 6:01, and it confirmed the prediction that we were going to be receiving some amount of rainfall across sections of some northern parishes. So we definitely got that across sections of St. Anne, St. Mary, Portland got in some of the action as well. Skipping ahead to about 9:01 a.m., we were still seeing much of the same. Clouds bringing overcast skies and isolated showers to sections of the very same northern parishes, especially across Portland right there. But by 1:56 p.m. now, we started to see a flip. Just as predicted, we were still getting that rainfall across northeastern portions of the island, but we started to see some of those clouds building across sections of some southern parishes. So definitely sections of Westmoreland, St. Elizabeth, Manchester, sections of St. Catherine, Kingston and St. Andrew got in on some of the overcast skies and isolated showers. And some of these clouds even make it up to cumulonimbus status up into the upper levels of the atmosphere. And we see these high cold cloud tops represented by the blues, greens, yellows, oranges, reds that show the cumulonimbus clouds being pushed off towards the east, just as predicted in yesterday's video, with the upper level winds coming in from the west. And we can also see the sparkling white dots that indicate lightning strikes, if not lightning flashes. So we definitely had some of that at first across sections of St. Catherine, then across sections of St. Elizabeth and Manchester later on. And we have confirmation from some of our followers. We had Brielle Patton confirming the rainfall in central Manchester 4 hours ago. And we even had a video sent in from one of our followers showing rain in Leeds St. Elizabeth right there on the windshield of their vehicle. So they definitely got in on some amount of rainfall across sections of Manchester and St. Elizabeth. We even had a comment on our Facebook page from Soldier Boy Willie stating rain falling the whole day and night in St. Mary. Then, even on our Instagram page, we have some of our followers confirming the rainfall in their area. We have Cool Shells posting 2 hours ago lovely rain, and when asked where, she answered by stating Christiana. We know that's in Manchester. Lotus underscore flower 876 stating loving it, and when asked what parish is that, she also confirmed it was Manchester. Then we had Pretty Boo .kk stating tank full. So I guess they got enough rainfall that their tank was I don't know, full or whatever the case may be. I'm sure that they are grateful. And if we take a look at the visible satellite images of Jamaica before the sun went down, we can see that yes, we had that cloud cover coming in from the east. Then the clouds built across sections of the southwest with those cumulonimbus clouds. And even by this time when we're seeing the sun going down, we're still experiencing some amount of clouds, bringing some overcast skies and showers to sections of St. Anne, St. Mary, sections of Portland, even spilling into sections of Kingston and St. Andrew. Even as we speak, these are showing the latest infrared satellite images. We can see that the high cold cloud tops have definitely dissipated by this time, with majority of that pushed off towards the south and east. But we still have some whitish, milky, grayish colors that represent cloud cover still across sections of the island, especially across sections of St. Mary and Portland, even into sections of St. Andrew. And we can see it all even better on the Cuban Doppler radar images. These are the latest images, and we're seeing that we still have some amount of rainfall right now across sections of Portland, sections of Kingston and St. Andrew. And we can see that rainfall that was plaguing sections of Manchester, St. Elizabeth is now off to the south of the island. If we take a look at the temperatures right now, we can see that we have 28 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 28 degrees Celsius in Kingston, and by about 4 a.m. on Monday, temperature should dip down to about 24 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 23 degrees Celsius in Kingston. As it relates to the temperature forecast for tomorrow, this map from the GFS is showing 18Z on Monday. When we calculate that, that's 1 p.m. on Monday, and we see Jamaica embedded in more gray colors than anything else. And we can see that the gray colors on the key on the right represent average temperature, so 0. It's not representing the oranges, yellows, or reds that represent above normal temperatures, or the blues or greens that represent below normal temperatures. So we're basically going to be getting average temperatures on Monday, and we know the average temperatures for the month of April, even although we're on the cusp of May, so temperatures should be rising soon. The average temperatures for the month of April, 88 degrees Fahrenheit. When we take a look at the thermometer, 88 degrees Fahrenheit is about the same as 30 degrees Celsius. So we should be receiving 30 degrees Celsius for Jamaica's temperature on Monday. As it relates to the dry air map, we can see that the dry air is represented by what we see on the key at the bottom. The yellows represent the lowest end of the scale in terms of dry air. Then we get up into the oranges, reds, and whites within those reds. And we can see that for majority of the Caribbean, including Jamaica right here, we're getting the low end of the scale in terms of dry air. If it's not some yellows, we're getting some blues that represent moist air. So it makes sense that we're having a lot of moist air, especially with the numerous troughs plaguing the region. Lots of clouds pushing in from the east, some rainfall, and we're indeed grateful for that. As relates to the wave forecast for tomorrow, both maps from the Euro and the GFS are showing more so in lieu of blues surrounding the island. So anywhere from 1 to 1.5 meter wave heights, as we can see by the key on the bottom right. And that is due to the fact that the winds are not going to be that strong at all. We see more in the way of those bluish greenish colors that we can see by the key on the bottom right that represents anywhere from 5 to 10 to even 15 knot winds. And we can see that the general direction is coming in from the east across the island. And we can also see the blues across especially inland areas of some eastern, central, and western parishes, which indicate where we're going to be having the least amount of winds. So there is a high chance that we're going to be receiving some isolated afternoon showers, especially across the inland areas, hilly interior areas of the island, and with the upper level winds still coming in from the west. We might have some of those activity or some of that rainfall activity, some thunderstorm activity, maybe across sections of some northern portions of some southern parishes and some southern portions of some northern parishes. Basically across sections of some eastern, central, and western parishes. So, with the winds coming in from the east, we can rule out some isolated shore activity for section of Portland, section of St. Thomas, and then these are the areas that are being highlighted to receive that afternoon rainfall, especially so sections of some northern portions of maybe St. Andrew, St. Catherine, Clarendon, Manchester, St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland, some southern portions of Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, St. Anne, St. Mary, Portland. We're definitely going to be in for some amount of rainfall tomorrow across the island, especially considering what the 1 hour total forecast maps are showing. This map from the Euro and this map from the GFS are both showing 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 7 a.m. Jamaica time. And we do see the blues that represent rainfall. And where do we see the consensus with this? Across sections of some eastern parishes in Jamaica for that time period. We see something similar on the GFS, and we know that when both maps are in agreement like this, the chances of it actually happening are much higher. Skipping ahead now to about, let's say, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 9 a.m. Jamaica time, we start to see some of these blues spilling into sections of some central parishes in Jamaica. So first it was St. Thomas and Portland. Now it's starting to incorporate sections of St. Mary, St. Anne, Northern St. Catherine, Northern St. Andrew. So we'll see exactly what unfolds with that. Either way, it's starting to spread to central and western Jamaica. And then finally by afternoon, this map from the Euro and this map from the GFS are showing 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 2 p.m. Jamaica time. And where do we see the blues that represent rainfall? Now across sections of some central and western parishes in Jamaica. And the thing is, we see that on both the Euro and the GFS maps. We're definitely going to be in for some amount of rainfall across the island tomorrow. And I'm sure most persons are going to be grateful for that rainfall as it relates to the accumulated precipitation forecast maps. Keep in mind that both of these maps are showing all the rainfall that's expected from now up until 10 p.m. on a Monday. Not saying that's going to be raining from now all the way up until then, but these are the areas that are going to be picking up most of the rainfall. And we can see that northeastern Jamaica is still going to be getting another rainfall, the most rainfall as a matter of fact, especially considering that tonight they're still going to be getting more rainfall if they're not already getting it right now, which explains why the Euro is showing up to 0.64 of an inch of rainfall for the totals. GFS showing up to 0.82 of an inch of rainfall. Either way, as relates to the rest of the island, we know that's going to be affecting them tomorrow. So up to 0.44 of an inch of rainfall on the GFS, up to 0.52 of an inch of rainfall on the Euro month. We'll see exactly what unfolds with that. Either way, we're indeed grateful. We're in the month of April. We usually get up to 114.75 millimeters of rainfall during this month. That's almost 5 inches of rainfall. And I believe with the rainfall that we've been getting for the past couple of days, we're definitely on track. And we're about to wrap up the month of April with some amount of rainfall. So we might just get it all the way up there in terms of the usual average rainfall that we receive. Alright, so that's it for the forecast across Jamaica. Let us focus our attention on the rest of the Caribbean. So as stated, we have that moist easterly flow across portions of the central to eastern Caribbean, bringing some amount of clouds with some rainfall embedded within that across sections of the eastern Caribbean islands. Some of that rainfall affecting sections of Haiti, the Dominican Republic right there, associated with that trough. And we can also see the usual thunderstorm activity across sections of Costa Rica, Panama, sections of Colombia, southern and western Venezuela getting in on the action. And we can also see some rainfall across sections of Suriname and French Guyana as well. As it relates to the Doppler radar images of the northeastern Caribbean, let's have a look at what was taking place starting at about, let's say, 1. That's what? Yes, so that's 1 p.m. today. We see that we had some amount of rainfall across sections of Puerto Rico, especially southern Puerto Rico right here. Some of that rainfall still coming in throughout the day from the northeast to affect sections of northeastern Puerto Rico. Maybe section of San Juan got in on some of the action as well. We also saw some greens that represent some isolated to moderate rainfall across sections of the northeastern Caribbean. So sections of Antigua and Barbuda, section of Guadeloupe might have gotten in on some of that rainfall as well. Not to mention section of the US and British Virgin Islands right there. And even if we take a look at the latest Doppler radar images, we can see that we still have some amount of rainfall taking place. Some rainfall across sections of the northern portions of Puerto Rico, the US and British Virgin Islands still getting in on some rainfall, and some hit or miss showers across sections of the Leeward Islands as we speak. As it relates to what we're seeing on the Barbados radar, we don't see much taking place across Barbados right now, but we do see some isolated showers coming into sections of or exiting the island. We had some rainfall, let's say an hour ago, definitely starting to quiet down now, but we can see some rainfall to the northeast and south of Barbados. Some rainfall heading into sections of Martinique, maybe a section of St. Lucia later on tonight. Some rainfall right there to the north of Tobago, maybe heading into section of Tobago later on tonight as well. And maybe some of that rainfall that we see coming in from the east to affect sections of Barbados later on tonight too, maybe even into tomorrow. As it relates to the wider view of Doppler radar images, we can see that rainfall that we just mentioned across sections of Puerto Rico and the eastern Caribbean. You can also see some rainfall right there across sections of the Dominican Republic based on what we saw in the satellite images, all courtesy of the trough. We can also see some rainfall across sections of northwestern Venezuela, sections of Colombia and the Colombian radar, and we can see that rainfall across sections of Suriname and French Guyana as well. As it relates to the temperature forecast for tomorrow, we can see that for the most part, majority of the Caribbean should be getting in on those grays that represent average temperatures for the most part, while we see more blues that represent below normal temperatures that still should be plaguing the waters to the north of the Caribbean, northern Hispaniola, northern Cuba, the Bahamas, Turks and Caicos, sections of Florida. That's where the below normal temperature should be. Keep in mind that this is valid for Monday, 18Z, which is actually 1 p.m. on Monday. So definitely we're grateful that we're getting in on those average temperatures more than those oranges and those yellows that represent above normal temperatures that sections of the central US, Central America, and section of Northern and South America are currently experiencing. As it relates to the wave forecast for tomorrow, we can see that majority of the Caribbean should be getting in on those blues more than anything else. That represents what we see on the key on the bottom right. That's anywhere from 0.5 meter wave heights to 1.5 meter wave heights, and all of that is due to the fact that we're going to be receiving the winds averaging for the most part anywhere from 5 to 10 to even 15 knots, gusting to 20 knots in some spots, as we can see by these colors coming in from the east for the most part across the Caribbean. As it relates to the rainfall forecast now, we can see that both the Euro and the GFS are in consensus with where the rainfall is expected. We know the rainfall is represented by what we see on the key on the right. So the greens, the yellows, the oranges, the reds, and we're definitely going to be getting in on some amount of rainfall, especially with all of the troughing taking place. So some rainfall expected for sections of Cuba, sections of Haiti, the Dominican Republic, Jamaica right there, sections of Puerto Rico, and the Leeward Islands, so anywhere north of Guadeloupe. So Antigua and Barbuda, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Martin, Anguilla, the US and British Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico. If they're not already getting that rainfall, there's a lot more rainfall to come. You can see some greens that represent rainfall still to affect sections of Martinique and St. Lucia. You can see some rainfall at the coast of the Yucatan Peninsula, section of Belize and Guatemala right there. Not to mention sections of southern Honduras and section of northern El Salvador, sections of Panama, Costa Rica, Colombia. As usual, it's nothing foreign for them, but we can also see that we're gonna be getting in on some rainfall across sections of Guyana, Suriname, and French Guyana as well. And we know that when both maps from the Euro and the GFS are in consensus like this, the chances of actually happening are much higher. Alright, so that's it for today. Thanks for watching.